Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some Season 21 tournament action. We got the semifinals match between Union and Jgsalem. Joining me in the broadcast panel is Coevil and Wise Old Man. How are you two doing this fine afternoon?
I'm doing really good, Ink. Just happy to be here and commentate this great game featuring Union and Jgsalem. How are you doing today, Wise Old Man?
I'm really hyped. I think this is going to be a great game to cast and to watch. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really strategy game, but we'll have to see about that. But I'm really hyped about it.
Yeah, for sure. So going into this, neither player has ever made it this far in a tournament before. Of course, this is Union's first tournament in Arcanist 2, although he has gotten probably pretty far in some OG tournaments. Salem, of course, even more so of a newcomer. Last tournament he played in was Season 9, which I think he made playoffs, interestingly enough. But yeah, two relatively new players to the tournament scene facing off here. And something else to note is that the winner of this will play Oa in the finals. But before we get into that, Union, Jgsalem, who do you got between the two? Coevil?
I think due to Union's experience with the original game, although could be wrong here, I don't know what Jgsalem's experience is like with the OG game, but I am certain of Union's experience there. I'm going to have to go with Union, and he's also had a competitive game against Furbo, played really well in that series, won that 2-1, but also, Salem, he's going to be making a name for himself and trying to conquer that underdog mentality. I think he's a little bit of an underdog coming into this match.
Wise Old Man, what about you? Any thoughts or predictions about this series?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Union as well, but Jgsalem is not a defenseless little kid that can't fight back, I think it's going to be really close, actually. I think he might even surprise us, but for the sake of logic, I will say Uniontaper, and the sake of experience, which is really, it's different,
For sure, for sure. So, interesting predictions. Looks like our two commentators and probably maybe some other people. I'm not sure what the audience thinks, of course, but at least there are two commentators here are under the impression that Salem is the underdog going into this, based on Union's OG experience. But we'll see if he'll be able to keep it competitive and maybe even pull out an upset. Looks like both players are about ready.
Yeah, I'm expecting probably a generic versus generic battle. I don't anticipate either of these players to bring flight books, to bring flightless books. They're going to bring flight probably, shock shield, protection shield, generic stuff. Not sure about Dark Knight, as you'll know, Ink. Dark Knight is difficult to pilot in Ocean with all the caverns and the lack of mobility that you can have there, and easily, if you don't summon it in the right area, your opponent gates away and it's just kind of a dead slot. And looks like they've got the game started here. We're going to load in and see who ends up going first. Okay, first thing to note is they don't have level 3s, so definitely some mixed books going on here. And Salem gets his first shot. Not too many great options here beyond the obvious one, which may be to basically knock him off the map, but instead he goes for a mud ball. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, say he knocks him off the map and then Union teleports down and has a couple turns to set up, and Salem instead says, you know what, I want to take a little bit of a different approach. Flashing out there is a good option instead of towering, because if you think about the early game, really you don't have a lot of options to really punish your opponent with high damage spells and different things like that. So flashing out of the mud, freeing yourself, is often better than a tower.
Yeah, I also really like to talk about map seeds in these situations. If you can see map seed, it has a really nice cave that's really covered by real good terrain, so Union could have definitely used that to set up, but
Yeah, it doesn't go for that, and I'm wondering if he's looking to go aggro here. A little bit scary, but he does have some options. Okay, yeah, Mud Ball's great, and one reason it is nice is because Salem can't tower out of that. He would have to BFTP and then jump out. So you BFTP to the left and then you long jump out, which he may try. He has to be careful if he doesn't bounce on the border. But okay, he takes the damage, but since he has a protection shield, for the viewers out there, he doesn't get stunned. But he needs to not be shocked by
he
that
might be
and
stunned though.
make his move. No,
I think he might have been stunned. It's a visual bug, maybe. I don't know.
No, I don't think he is stunned with the way that protection shield works, but maybe he was a little bit caught off guard. That's why he just kind of paused, or he just knew, oh, I'm gonna go for this mech arrow. But unfortunately, yeah, in a flashable position, and Union makes the right play. Now we might see Salem make the decision of, okay, am I going to be shifting this game toward a more defensive stally matchup, or still try to vie for top control? Which is hard. That's a hard decision to make, because you don't know if he has Dark Knight, which would be a pretty great spell to take advantage of here and gain a lot of tempo if he were to teleport up top. But okay, he goes for the safer option. Now it's just a matter of, okay, each individual player is just going to start doing their setup. We're going to see Prot Shields, we're going to see Swarms, we're going to see probably Pegasus, we're going to see making some space. Okay, Boar, interesting. I wonder what the utility of that is in a cavern like this. Obviously he's got it for drain food if he ever gets low, and some good chip damage, but we're going to have to wait a few turns before we can really see how that benefits him. And of course, he takes damage from it, which it can happen. It's not anything too major. He only took like 10 damage, but the Boar can damage your the summoner. If I'm Union, what he's doing there, by opening up that land with the flash is he's making, not necessarily digging to Salem, I don't think personally. He's just making a little area where he can be somewhat protected from clams and he can get out his swarm, get out his other minions, where he's not exposed to aerials. So basically just kind of making his own little hidey hole that just like Salem has. And they're going to be mirroring each other, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, and getting their setup going. In about 10, 15, 20 turns, we're going to just be holding our breath, waiting for the clams to hit these guys.
Absolutely. It's just like I'm always saying, the clams will decide your fate if you drag it too long, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But also, you know, it's interesting. With the flight books and with decent positioning, you can mitigate a lot of the danger of clams. Obviously, if Union just stays in that area that he is now, not flighted on the ground, then, you know, clam's eventually gonna just pop down there. But if you're flighted, you're not quite in as much danger, but you also have to be careful of the brine, so it can be difficult to avoid clams. Boars are gonna come into play here now. Curious how Salem wants to position those, and he wants to kind of protect them from being engaged by Union. Oh, he chooses to undead one. Okay, so he drained it into the swarm, and he's going to use his swarm to build up that boar bit. That's a good play. Yeah, and Union, he doesn't want to engage because he's down a minion, and also like one of the boars could absorb his shock shield. He could just be treed in response. So they're pretty even. It's not like he would, if he opens the map up there, he would suddenly have a massive advantage. And so instead, he's still just kind of waiting. We might see a situation where, okay, in again 5-10 turns, a clam opens up like this top area above JG, and then Union is able to come on in and engage that way. But okay, he's choosing to relocate here, which I think is a safe play. Often you will see these situations where the mud ball provides some much needed cover at times from aerials and brine in this case with the Arma. So Union, I think, makes a good play here, relocating.
Yeah, I need to ask, why did Union decided to go for the left part of the map, where if you see at the right part of the map, it's really easy to, even like 2 BFTPs can get you in and fight JJ if he wants it, you know? It's a really more or less terrain than the left side of the map. Like right where JJ is positioning his pick, that's like the opening, the easiest opening for JJ's escape, you know?
Yeah, I guess it kind of goes back to both of these players are kind of teleporting away. They find their own little hidey holes, areas, and they're just summoning minions, getting their protection shields out, getting their shock shields out. So it's pretty even with the way that, you know, they're able to just sit in their own little areas, and they're not really engaging each other. They're just being super defensive. If Union had more of like a rush-oriented book, which I don't think he does, it seems like he's got potentially Dark Knight or just a generic, you know, shock shield and swarm book. But I don't think Union's name of the game here is to engage Salem. He's looking to win late game. Otherwise, yeah, if I had a more rush-oriented book, I would definitely look to engage Salem from that top thin little part of land there.
Yeah, but like the flashes that he went for in the left side of the map, I don't know, it was like, why would you do that if he didn't want to get in, you know? Was it like teasing JJ for him to like open it up for him?
Yeah, you know, I would say he kind of knows that JG is playing defensive, and they both have similar approaches, and I guess he's just stalling until the Arma and doesn't really want to push. You also have the nature of just being anxious and maybe a bit nervous. You make a play like that and you open up the map, all of a sudden you got to calculate all these different lines and options and different moves that potentially could happen. Maybe JG has one spell or two spells that are a little bit offbeat that we don't know about yet, that he could be surprised by. So,
Yeah, but if you think about it, leaving the terrain like that, basically, if one clan comes and open it, that's gonna be the opener for the entire game. I mean, because if the clan comes down and destroy the little terrain that Union left in the left side of the map, it's gonna be the opener move for any of these players.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering to what degree would it be an opener at this point. I mean, they've been so defensive, and I mean, look, he's just draining a man trap on turn 13. Like, in what situation do you really drain a man trap on turn 13? What that tells me is that basically these players can do nothing, and this is like screaming signs of a potential draw if they just sit there and wait. Obviously, yeah, clams, you'll have 2, we'll have 3, maybe even 4 if this game goes long enough.
Does it
But
go
ye-
for clams? I've never
But
seen
yeah,
that.
I don't even
It can
remember.
go up to 5 clams even.
Oh wow,
5 clams.
I've never seen that. I don't think. Maybe I have, but it's been a while. So yeah, I don't know.
Cute.
My point is, Wam, I think at this point, if he were to open up the map, both players have such, you know, number of minions and protection shields, a lot of defensive tools that I don't think really they have much of an opener to, take advantage of. Oh, I'm gonna go, what are you gonna do? Hit him with a mud ball? Like their books just aren't that aggro.
Yes,
Interesting.
it's like.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Mantrap, does he have Sanctuary or did he just bring Mantrap? So, a little bit counterintuitive with the book. Shock Shield, Prot, and Sanctuary, potentially?
Nah, I mean, I played against Union, and to my
Yeah.
experience, he doesn't bring Sanctuary. He just plays Mantrap for draining food, actually.
That's interesting, I can't say I personally do that. If I have Mantrap, I usually pretty much almost always bring Sanctuary, but yeah, interesting play by Union. Will be interested to ask him about that. Yeah, maybe in the interview what his thought process was. Yeah, it makes sense as a drainable minion, but also you could use
Pony.
Pegasus, which we haven't seen from him, so yeah, maybe he decided to go with Mantrap instead. But it's hard to weigh the advantages over something like a Mantrap versus a Pegasus. You would think Pegasus is a lot more mobile, it's bigger, it's easier to stall, it has a prot shield. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, we're gonna just see Union probably stack his shields. Okay, interesting. Yeah, going for Windshield to protect from the Arma. Which again, it's really early, but this is looking like pretty drawish, because guess what Salem can do? The same exact thing. Get his Storm Spirit out, and, Windshield that up, and then it's just going to be, 20 turns of the Arma being deflected by the Spirit Windshields, and he does end up going for that option.
Peak Arcanist content we hear, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, right, exactly. This is high stakes, high octane, aggressive, edge of your seat gameplay right here, everyone. A stark contrast to the Oa Cryo match, was it? Yeah, where basically that was over in 10 turns each match, and no generic mixes really. Flightless and rush, just a lot of different unique gameplays that deviate from generic. But here we do have a generic versus generic battle, and okay, interesting. Looking like Salem wanted to use BFTP a couple times to open up that area, but really probably a waste in hindsight because the boar is just able to dig through there. So that may come back to bite him. He may not be satisfied with the fact that he had to use a BFTP there. Might need it later.
So, I'm trying to think, what are these players waiting for? Are they waiting literally for the Armageddon to decide? or are they waiting for like the other one to make an aggressive move on them? What's the logic?
You know, I've been in these positions in tournaments before. Sometimes it's just like a game to feel out your opponent, and also nerves, I think, play a part in that, just not wanting to make a mistake, playing super passive, and getting a feel for how your opponent plays, and then maybe adjusting your book on game 2. Okay, looking like that swarm's going to go down. Not a huge deal. And it's interesting with how much defensive forces they've built up. Any sort of swarm that dies, or land that's opened up, it doesn't really, it's like negligible, because they've got so much defense built up that like there's not really going to be a, oh my gosh, there's a chance for an opener to hit him with a huge spell. It's like, no, they just don't have those tools. So looking like this is just kind of a passive, feeling it out game, and potentially they may adjust. I don't think mid-game. I think this is just going to be a more slower, drawn-out match. Whether it ends in a draw, though, it leaves to be seen. But with these windshields coming out, it's looking possible.
I mean, if we keep it like this the whole time, we could potentially, hypothetically, go like this forever, right? Like match after match, if they do the same with the exact same spellbooks.
Yeah, what's your schedule looking like for Monday and Tuesday? Clear that up. Grab your get your sleeping bag if you are not in your room. You gotta have it right next to your computer so you can wake up and just go get ready for the commentary. We're gonna need some more people to rotate, just rotating commentators, because this game is gonna last so long. But
yeah, because with the windshields that they both have, clamps are definitely really hard to hit anyone,
Yeah, and what ends up happening in these matches, just like hypothetically, say they open up this land, they're going to spam their mud balls, eventually run out of muds, only be at like 80 prot or 60 prot, have the opportunity to reprot, because they just spammed a bunch of muds, and their prot is probably back off cooldown, and then it's just a new game where they are both at max health with a bunch of prots, but now they have no mud balls, and so they lost all their tools.
Yeah, so like in the meantime, while we're watching this Peak Arcanist content, can we talk about like what type of gameplay or game style actually would you call it, Coibel?
I'd probably call this along the lines of, you can just call it defensive, or you can call it
Staller?
Yeah, stall. Control is a popular term for books that don't have a lot of damage or minions. I would say their books are more balanced because they do have decent damage with Shock Bomb and Shield. So this is, generic is by definition kind of balanced. But the play style, how they're, like you can play this book more aggressively, but you could also play this book very passively and defensive. And I think this is what they're doing. Basically just waiting for the other person to potentially make a mistake, but even in this situation, the prospect for making a game blundering mistake is just, it's almost impossible unless you jump into the water and then teleport right next to your opponent.
Yeah, so I don't know, like in my opinion, this I would call this a problem as such, but I mean they can definitely play like this without. It's okay, it's their game. But playing like this for like 60 turns and then drawing, I've been in that situation in 1v1s,
Yeah, in that situation, you could imagine a scenario where they could just play like this for 20 games.
Yep.
And I think you would have tournament rules, or that they would come into play at that point to try to prevent this scenario where, you can just play 20 games of generic versus generic turn 60 nothing gameplay, and just be here all day, pretty much.
I wonder what could you do to prevent this, in terms of rules of the tournament.
Good question. Potentially, one option would be to make draws 0 points, but even if they're a half point, honestly, someone's going to want to win at some point, and so you would think that they would eventually change up their strategy or their book. Otherwise, like, the commentators and the players are both kind of losing in a sense if you're just there all day, playing out 10 draws, 20 draws.
To clarify, as tournament director, if both players are just intentionally like drawing and like not like refuse to play the game normally, we do reserve the right to DQ them. But thankfully,
yeah.
that has not ever happened in any sense before. So, for good reason. I mean, players definitely don't want to just be drawing all day intentionally. There's of course a
we
difference
generally
between.
had,
There's
high
of course.
integrity.
Yeah. Of course, there's usually a difference between very defensive gameplay like this and just like not even trying to win. There's people who can take, for example, Nature's Wrath and just double tower and drain spam their elves and never try to even engage. But yeah, thankfully we haven't had that in any tournaments or anything like that yet.
Yeah, and it looks like Union is actually came up with the plan in his own mind to get some chip damage off and deal with the swarm, and we saw the clam deal with a couple of his minions. So we're making a slight bit of progress. It's not a lot, but a little bit here. And yeah, I don't think this is blatant, like, oh, we're just playing for a draw, type of gameplay, but just more defensive, feeling out the opponent. I definitely know from seeing Union, this is just kind of how he plays. This is his style. But this is about to get a little bit more spicy with shock shield, chip damage, some swarm chip damage. Both of their swarms are down. And okay, JG's just saying, I'm just going to go full aggro here. Yep, maybe hit him with the mud ball, and we're going to get a repeat of the early game, which is where Union mudballed JG at the top of the map, and he was stuck up there. He couldn't do any towering. At that time, he did the BFTP, and then he jumped out. What Union has is an option here. He could even high jump out if he wanted, and then he wouldn't get stunned by the border damage, as I pointed out, because of the protection shields that he has. But he chooses to flash, and the idea behind that is you're just saying, all right, Salem, you're down a mud ball, and I still have a bunch of prots. What now?
Right now, so now that the map's destroyed, we could potentially see a confrontational approach by these players.
Yeah, and again, especially to a new viewer, you might think, oh, or actually you probably closed out the stream already if you're just bored by this match, but honestly, you really just look at the protection shields, and I think if they're starting to get ticked down, and then you get to 0 and maybe you get someone's flight cooldown off and then they don't have flight for several turns, that's where it gets, kind of dangerous. Like, okay, in this situation, Union's got to be a bit careful. Look at the protection shield deficit that he has. 126 to 44. That's quite major. And we could see Salem potentially take advantage of this in some way, but I'm curious what he ends up going for. It kind of looks like he's about to do something insane. Oh, okay, Mech Arrow is a great play. Ooh, 60. Nice. Those cogs do 10 damage each. And he does get Union's flight down, which is great. 18 damage from that Brine, bringing him down to 201. And now, again, we look at this situation. Even though with all that setup, they really only can get 150 prots. So if you whittle away those prots and manage to deal with their minions in a
BFTP, right?
decent way. Yeah, BFDP, very interesting. I don't know what the thought process was behind that. Oh, he almost queued, but he really is internalizing that idea that, oh, I gotta get his prots down. Gotta get that 5 damage in. If it were me, I would have saved that, but that's all good. He does have the Storm Shield, Storm Spirit out, as does Salem. And Salem can employ a strategy that Union did, which is funny. We're seeing them use the same techniques and approaches to flash out if he would like, but he chooses to tree instead. Note about this for the viewers too. Generally in 60G, you see a lot of these situations where you're trapped, and do you trap your opponent or do you free yourself? In general, trapping your opponent while you're trapped is kind of not the best. It doesn't really do much for your tempo because Union is free, he's freed himself, and you're still trapped. So Salem still can't move. And oh, Union gonna get clammed there.
Oh, damn.
Oh, wait, 118? Good lord. He went down super far
We
there.
got
and
double
he's-
clammed.
Wait, that was a double. Oh, I only saw one there. But you're right. And he's just lost. Holy shit. Salem can do anything that does damage, and he pretty much has massive... Oh, he's just gonna win here. Oh, one
Wow.
health. What a nice soft lob. Oh, and the
That-
clam's just
that
gonna
for the
finish
finish?
him? Maybe? Oh,
Yeah, but like, what
Wow.
can Union do in this situation? I mean,
nothing.
oh,
Wait, what?
what?
Oh, no, it did clear the shields, but it just looks weird because he's sitting on his spirit. I was like, why did that glitch out? What the hell happened there?
He got sanctuary, bro.
Oh, very interesting. Is he gonna get... Oh, he didn't quite get the tick on
So
the...
he did have sanctuary. Wait a second.
Yeah, he did.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit offbeat to have Sanctuary and all your shields. Seems kind of counterintuitive. But of course, Union is down to a modest total of 1 health, so we'll see if he has any chance at a comeback here. He expertly positions himself to be free from any brine damage, but I haven't been counting the exact Arma turns, so the brine isn't coming quite yet.
Right, like, could you imagine, like, if Union could turn this over, like... I just don't think so, though. Oh!
You know what's interesting? Oh! He almost got the swarm tick. Oh, he might... Oh, he loses his spirit here? That sucks. And now, it's tough. Because he doesn't really have options to gate. And... yeah, I think potentially the brine is going to come into play here, and... Wait, he calculated that! What the fuck? That's wild. No, he had no idea the brine was coming in that. Okay, it's coming again, though, and it's surely he's going to die. Yeah, GG. Wow, great game.
So he did have sanctuary. That doesn't enter my mind, you know? What's that? I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, so the issue with that is like, okay, you spend 20 turns and you get all this setup, right? You build 150 prots, your shock shield, your swarms, and then Union, say he gets free and goes over to Salem, and he sanctuaries Salem shields off. Wow, what a tempo move. Oh my gosh, look at him. Wow, he just got such an advantage. No, because his shields are also gone. And then, what did you accomplish for those 20 turns? Well, you've got 2 or 3 minions, but you could have just brought those minions out without, you know, flying and shielding and...
We're right back into game 2, by the way.
Okay, looking like we're just going right back into it. No time to waste. Just loading the game up here. 1 moment. Okay, Union with the very insightful, creative, off-meta opening of Flight into the Mud Ball. We've never seen that before in my life. And if I had to hazard a guess, he's possibly gonna run away and use a shield, but we don't see those in many books either. Oh my gosh, wow! Look at that! But no, I'm interested to see Union, is he going to change up his strategy a bit and realize, okay, maybe the waiting game didn't really work out too well for me. Potentially swap out Sanctuary, knowing that, oh, I'm just canceling out my shields, and maybe bringing some different minions to the table. Maybe he tries boars himself, or pixies would be a little bit wild in 30s to micro and maneuver, but maybe some extra damage. Curious to see if they if he changed his book at all. Looks like Salem didn't. I'm just spitballing, just hazarding a guess there, but he does have boar and he loves generic, so it's possible that he just ran with the same book. And it also looks like Union potentially did. I'm hoping he maybe switched out Sanctuary for, like I said, what? I'm not sure. It could be a whole litany of spells, but if I'm Salem here, it's important to know I'm thinking of what you said, Wam, in the first game. The map gen, it's a lot more open of a map, so I don't think we can get quite as stally of a game as previous, because the Arma will start to play a huge role pretty early, and Union really has command over the best hiding spot, and one of the only ones besides that small cavern to the right, which doesn't have too much cover. So basically we're going to get a little bit of a repeat of the first game, but because this map is open, I think we can be a little bit more optimistic that action will happen a little bit earlier. And if I'm Salem here, you're just thinking about developing your minions. There's not really a way that you can engage with that swarm because the tree is alive, so the swarm war is just going to get ticked by that tree there. And so he can safely do his setup that he did last game, get his storm shield up, get his spirit out, get a shield up on the spirit, and potentially has to come up with a way to think about, okay, in 5-10 turns, the Arma's coming, and look at how open that area is where he's at. He has to find a way to form some sort of hiding spot. Union tried to go for that shield on the swarm. Yeah, okay, he just drains instead. Go ahead. So what I think
we have a little bit more of a confrontational approach this game, apparently. I think it's mainly because of the seed as well. The seed doesn't allow these players to hide at all. So it basically comes down to first mistake, that was Union taking damage from the swamp, and now JJ.
Oh yeah, we could see a huge play here, and oh, does he get knocked into his swarm? Not quite. Wow. And now he's at such a huge advantage. Union has to go on the defense. He can escape with his swarm if he'd like to, so that it doesn't get stuck down there, but it's hard to do that micro in 30s, and he's probably panicking just a little bit. And you may see players lose track of their minion. For example, he didn't move the swarm, but also potentially Arma. He has to, collect himself and realize, okay, 4 turns till Arma. I gotta be aware of Brian that might deflight, or any potential clam craziness that could happen. Yep, safe play here. It looks like Salem is prepping tower. And now Union just has to get out of there. Run away! Go! Probably can safely assume Salem doesn't have an aerial, but still wants to protect himself. Yeah, just in case. Yeah, saving the swarm, which is a great play too. I don't know, it's kind of tricky to manage swarms. You're gonna have brine damage potentially tick them. If it's out in the open, it's easier for Salem to kill it, but also if you put it near land or terrain, it can be easily treed. You can use the forest seed and trap it, and then it's just a dead slot. And here, yeah, Salem has 2 boars, and even though Union has a lot of chip damage that he can use to potentially undead those or kill it, it just forces a response. And in 30s, I think that's huge. You know, he could spend all that time trying to chip away at the boar, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, I have 5 seconds, what do I do? And then panic, and then Q. So Salem took great advantage of that opportunity that he had to Mega, and now is in a commanding position. But Union doing what he needs to do. So if I'm Salem here, you could consider going aggressive if you wanted, but I don't think it's too imperative. He is in a pretty strong position. I guess what you want to guard against is if Union ends up having somehow the ability to build 100 prot, 150 prot, then you start to look at your health and you're like, oh shoot, I actually let him get back in the game and he's actually winning. So Salem has to be careful about waiting too long before he chooses to engage so that Union doesn't get that protection shield advantage on him. Because right now, despite the fact that Salem in his tower has over 100 health lead, Union does have the protection shield advantage. So, okay, choosing to go aggro here, but like I said, he's got 8 seconds, so has to be mindful of that. And, okay, goes for a mud. And that seems like a smart option, because Union, I don't know if he towers, is he free? Potentially not. But also he can kill the swarm the following turn, because I believe his flight is up. He's been sitting in that tower for ages. Okay,
I'm JJ. I'm just teleporting out. I mean,
yeah, that's actually good. I was gonna say, yeah, slight tempo swing, good tree by Union, but also you can just teleport out. If your shock shield expires, just re-up it, and eventually that swarm is gonna die from Brine, or take damage from the shock shield. So the swarm isn't really hugely influential, I think, in this particular situation, and Union is still trapped. That teleport, I don't know if he needed to be so careful, like go so far deep into that cavern there. He could have just probably gone on top of the tree instead. But maybe nervous about clams and just wants to be super careful, super cautious. Okay, doing some zoning, which if you're not familiar with that term, kind of in Arc basically means, okay, I'm going to limit the movement of my opponent. And basically, JG is unable to move because of that swarm aura. But he does have a couple of good lines, which I won't reveal, but I can talk after he chooses to make his move. It's not really too threatening. It's just something that Union is doing to limit Salem's movement. And, you know, like I said, he's got to do it. Okay, interesting, although that traps him. So he had an option of killing it with a drain. I think that even though the drain would have hit land, it would have done 19 damage. Drain typically does 30. So pretty sure that would have killed. But instead he chooses to tree it. I guess the advantage to that is that he's protected from clams. But I would argue now Union has actually stabilized very well due to Salem's tree there and the teleport. Primarily, I think the tree. That actually helps Union because he was at a health deficit and now he's been trying to play defensive, and so Salem helped him out a bit there. Oh, and now I think I sniffed out Union's strategy, getting a Storm Spirit out to pop a windshield on there, and yeah, it's true. Okay, I'm given a couple moves, but you know, we've seen these strategies before, so this is at the forefront of the players' minds to have the option to get this windshield here. And so we may see Union go for that and just be protected from the brine and the clams, continue to build his prots. But then again begs the question, Wom, what is the point of Sanctuary if he still has it? Then
I
he's
think
just...
I really like the only way I could see it work is that Union was baiting JJ, or the idea is to bait your opponent to think that you don't have Sanctuary because you're running Protection Shield, Flight, and Shock Shield, and just kind of like surprise them. But that doesn't work
Right.
here because Union revealed his Sanctuary at the last second for no reason, if I'm being honest, because that Sanctuary there was really just didn't mean anything, to be honest. At the end, it just revealed the
yeah.
secret, you know.
Yeah, he was lost already, but I would say the level 1 gives a lot of indication that he had Sanctuary. Like I said, in my personal experience, in most cases, if you've got Man Trap, you've got Sanctuary. So he brought Man Trap out early, and so Salem may have, we can ask him about this, but may have sniffed out that he has Sank. And so then he was automatically starting to play a bit more defensive. Interesting that I think Salem perhaps admitting to himself, ah, man, I lost my momentum, you know, and so he chooses to just drain up and say, you know what, we might have to just have another game where we're going to stall. And yeah, I'm down a little bit of prots, 25, but realistically, we'll probably both get up to 150 and I can win with my boars and my swarm. And the issue for these players is they don't really have a lot of tools to be aggro, and Union doesn't really want to be aggro in this situation, even if he had it, because of all the minions that Salem has there. So just by the nature of this game state, where Salem's got 3 minions in his area and Union's down a little bit of health and just wants to build his prod advantage, I think he's got to be defensive. Oh, he almost self, like the boar TK'd the other boar. 1 health now it has left. Those boars are going after Union's swarm, but they don't really dig upward very well. So I'm curious if Salem can reposition them somehow so that they can dig better. I don't really quite see it. So he might just have to let them do their thing.
Yeah,
And
but like, JE knows that Union's running Sanctuary now, right?
yeah, and we haven't revealed, he hasn't shown those 2 spells up to this point. But I mean, like I've been saying like a broken record, does Union really want to use Sanctuary right now? No, he just, you know, he's looking at the health total without prots. He's down almost 100. And so Sanctuary would be not ideal. Especially because he's also down basically 2 minions. But to be fair, these minions for both players are not doing much at all. And I say 2 minions because the swarm is trapped. Union swarm.
I can see a world where having Sanctuary and running Flight, Protection Shield, and Shock Shield can work, because you're basically controlling the tempo over the necessity of... If you're like Union right now, that has 125 Protection Shield, he's probably not gonna Sanctuary, right? But if your opponent gets 2 ahead of you in Protection Shields, it might come handy to have it in that case, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Just due to the fact that Union got caught off guard by that Mega, it's a bit more tricky for him to use Sanctuary, I guess, in a way that's going to be advantageous to him. And yeah, I misspoke about the minions. I didn't see his spirit. He's still got a spirit. So Union's got 3 minions. Salem's got 3 minions. And Salem's looking to kill that swarm with his own. But if that doesn't happen next turn, looks like Union's going to get that boar for himself. So we'll see what happens here. Yeah, okay, the swarm does go down, which is good, I guess. I mean, it wasn't really doing that much. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the prots, 100 to 125, the health, 250 to 167. Union, or Salem could potentially create some room and go on the offensive if he wants. Well, he's got his shock shield up. But yeah, with his minions trapped, it may not be the best course of action. Does that help Union there or not? I don't think it does too much because he's got the wind shield anyway. but maybe that tree is some land where a clam can get stuck on and potentially do some damage. The nature of these games, it ends up being much longer. One reason is that you have to spend a turn to cast your windshield, and that's just a quote-unquote empty turn that these players use to just gain a little bit of a defensive advantage. And so that's one turn closer to this turn 60 threshold. But really a lot's happened and we're only at turn 21. So it is looking like, while we anticipate that these really defensive games are going to turn out to be draws in Arma maps like this, where really we're only looking at the protection shield amount, it's hard to draw. 60 turns is a long ass time.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I kind of missed out on how JJ gave Union the tempo to recover after that Mega Boulder.
Okay, so I pointed this out. I don't know exactly how long ago it was. Potentially, like, I don't know if we're thinking about 5-6 turns. Also, unfortunate there, Union's Swarm just got killed. And so a little bit of a queue there, although he did get the boar, so that's worth noting. But so Salem was down there in the bottom area where he's at now, and he treed Union Swarm and trapped himself down there. And I think that was the kind of nail in the coffin where Union's like, oh, well, damn, I'm fine now. Sweet, this is awesome. And my opponent's down a mega, but I have all these prots. And yes, he's still down 100 health, roughly. 83. I don't have my calculator, but yeah. He could have seized the initiative in that situation, but instead chose to be a little bit more passive, and now he's paying the price a little bit for it here. Union can just spirit and chill. Might be a situation where these players have to wait for clams to kind of open up the map a bit. And then it's going to be another situation where you just see them potentially trade mud balls, end up out of mud balls, and then you don't have a lot of stalling potential. A clam could do hugely, like shift the game, because again, we're only looking at the amount of protection shield health that they have. You get someone down to 60 and then a clam hits them down to 15, and then all of a sudden, like in game 1, Union's prots just seem to disappear, and then all of a sudden JG has 100 and he's got nothing. So definitely still some play in this game, some potential to spice things up a bit. And yeah, clams are starting to, you can see how much terrain that destroys. And so Salem's hiding spot is getting encroached on a little bit here. We've got 6 spectators here on the boat. I'm going to join myself. I always forget, and I need people to remind me. Also, I'm going to check to see if there's any comments in the chat. Oh, interesting. Yeah, someone commented about the BFTP that he did in game 1, which, sorry, I wasn't keeping up on this, but remember when he BFTP'd just that random?
Yeah, directly, yeah.
Yeah, he's saying that, oh, maybe he was wanting to get him closer to the right to potentially do a sanctuary. So possibly, yeah. And, oh yeah, we've got some viewers in here, a new follower. That's great to see. Let's see here. Still locked in a little bit of a stalemate as far as tempo goes. By that I mean it's not like, oh, this turn JG is going to make a massive play and shift the game. Or vice versa, Union doesn't really have an opportunity to make a massive play. But that 55 boar, so he could have ticked his boar with the swarm and just really get that health advantage on the boar there. Okay, windshield expires, and now one thing to point out, which I don't think I have yet, is when JG is going aggro, you may not have time. Union may not have time to get that windshield up. And he may just have to do it. And the issue here is, oh, okay, he moved the spirit so that the boar wouldn't open up that area right to the right of JG. So very smart. Otherwise it digs Jgsalem free, and he's able to basically go aggro. Just opening up this area could be an option for him. Okay, interesting. He repositions the boar to go after the spirit, which is a nice play. Spirit's in danger of getting killed from brine. Maybe not in one turn, but in 2 turns it's kind of a small target. And so, okay. I believe that was a clam right there. Cleared out that space. Although my camera was up at the top, looking at the top clams that were raining down on Union. And alright, yeah, JG doesn't have a lot of space here. Oh wow, the tree just died because of the boar's attacks. So that actually benefits JG quite a bit. And the boars will basically just free him from this tree the following turn. And he again gains some initiative. Doesn't quite know that BFTP. For anyone who's not sure of that move, they can go check out. I have a video on how to BFTP through some of those trees. And also there's an older one from 10piece, who's a long time content creator and contributor that you guys can check out. But like I said, and I think in the last broadcast, it's tricky to do in time pressure and also when you're flighted. Yeah, what do you do if you're Union here, Wom? I think he's making a nice play. You just gotta be passive, right?
Absolutely. Like, JJ's... After the Mega Boulder, he gave space Union for 2 recover, you know? If I'm Union, I'm summoning a Man Trap and just start raining again.
Yeah, that's an option. I mean, it's interesting. Okay, wow. Okay, Salem's hiding spot really looking thin here. He's not got a lot of cover. Yeah, I'm thinking about, what did Union really gain? Yeah, he stabilized, but that's about it. You know, he hasn't really got other advantages to show for. Just health, you know. So, or like just the fact that he hasn't lost, you know. He's not lost. Yay! But it's like, okay, I guess you just accept that I just have to stall as best as I can. Again, can't really think about a draw until we get to probably turn 45. Then we'll start to know if that's more in the realm of possibility here. And kind of funny there, the 2 boars are basically hugging each other because that attack doesn't really, like they can just basically end up inside one another when they do their attack. It doesn't ignore minions. And so it looks like they got 126 health, but I believe it's one that has 12 and one that has 6. So yeah, if anyone knows how to hack the game and get a 126 boar, just slip me a DM. Oh, 1 second left. Okay.
So yeah, so I was wondering, how do you progress the game if you're JG now? He has all the boars like sitting there, you know. They're useless at the moment. You waste so many turns on the boars, they're useless, you know.
Yeah, and it's hard because he has 3 to micro in 30 seconds, and he has to make sure that when he pulls them out, which I would recommend that he moves them, he doesn't just let them sit there because then they're useless, like you said. But when he starts moving them, he has to make sure that they are not in danger of the Arma, which is also super tricky to do, again, in 30 seconds. 60s, yeah, you can see that could be possible. You know, create a 2-3 turn plan in your mind. Okay, in this turn I'm going to move these 2 boars, in this turn I'm going to move this boar, and then move myself. But in 30s, it's like, okay, this turn I'm going to move 1 boar, the next turn I'm going to move another boar, and the third turn I'm going to move a 3rd boar. And then it's like, okay, you spent all this time and the boar dies to Brian, or you spent all this time and the boar is at 7 health and it's a ground minion and Union's flighted. So it's like, what was the point, really? But he's going to use what he has and Q.
Q's, okay.
Because it's hard, like I just said. It's a micro boars. It's tricky.
There goes one boar.
And, oh, there goes a boar, and then the clams are raining down, like I said earlier in the broadcast. It's not as threatening if you're flighted, these clams. Unless you're close to land, then of course it can latch onto the land that's close to you, but
So-
Union positioned well here, yeah.
Can I just say, like, in the entirety of these 2 games, I haven't seen Union cast an offensive spell at all.
Yeah, so this is a mindset that's popular among OGers, original gamers, so those who have played the 2008, Jagex Arcanist, and the new books that are present in this version of Arcanist, which used to be called Arc 2, but now is Arcanist, they have a lot more offensive firepower. And OG was a bit more passive, win with swarms, win with Undead Pegasus. So one example for new viewers, Undead Pegasus in the original game, it had a cap of 250 health. So basically no cap. And so what that allowed players to do back in the day was just super mega sweaty stall strategies. And I believe Union is not averse to those. He loves that type of gameplay to stall heavily.
How are you supposed to win if you're not damaging your enemy at all? Like, it's the second game I've seen of Union, and I haven't seen him go offensive. I know Union. I played against Union a lot of times, and I know that he knows when to turn offensive, but I haven't seen him so far doing anything more than just defending,
Yeah, and it's tricky because it's like you're thinking about, in a lot of balanced books, you think about, okay, we're playing around this turn 4, turn 5 opportunity to use one of my big spells. And, oh, okay, that clam, the windshield kept it in the air, suspended for a little bit, and it exploded before it fell, doing some damage to Union, so that is unfortunate. But yeah, as I was saying, a lot of balanced books play around the dangers of a turn 4 spell like a Mega, or a turn 5 spell like a Dark Knight, or these big, aggro spells, the Ice Bombs, the Dark Matter Bombs. You're playing around that one spell, trying to get that edge out on your opponent. Ooh, can I get an Ice Bomb on him? Can I get a Mega on him? And if you don't, if your opponent is able to, withstand that early and use good positioning to prevent that, then you end up in a situation kind of like this, where Union never really had an opportunity to use his Mega or anything like that. And as a result, JG's at 250 with 150 prot, and he can't really do much offensively. But in contrast, we saw Salem take huge advantage of a Mega Boulder early, and what does that mean for Union? He's got to go immediately on the back foot because of the kind of shock value or lack of foresight or positioning by Union in the early game, and he got hit with that Mega Boulder, which was pretty devastating. Now he's got to make something happen here. He's got some offense, but I don't know, at this point, how many mud balls he has left. 2 or 3 potentially. I would consider, yeah, bringing out a minion is okay. I was thinking about a shock shield, but maybe he's thinking I can do that anytime. That's fine. And okay, Union's hiding spots, it's going away, and now in a all-out brawl with no land, Salem is looking good. Especially he's got that Storm Spirit there, but Union's gonna wisely kill it. We're gonna see Brine take Union potentially in future turns. Again, don't have a notepad out, but okay, there we go, Entangle. So he took Sanctuary out. This is interesting. This spices things up. I did not
So
expect
yeah,
that.
he doesn't have any more man trap. That's why he hasn't so many to drain. He doesn't have drain food apparently.
Yeah. But this turns the tide of the game for Union here now.
Can we even see a Dark Knight? Do you think? Entangle usually goes with Dark Knight, right?
Potentially, but oh, this is really, really dicey for Salem.
Like now, if Union summons a DK. Okay, not anymore.
Oh, this is really looking tough for Salem now. Just with that one spell, he was able to gain such a huge advantage. And now he's got so much mobility, and Union, Salem, in order to get the Tangle off, he has to get through 104 protection shields. There's no way he's going to be able to do that. And yeah, he kills his Swarm. Now it's all back in Union's favor. Just with that one turn.
Yeah, so because of the map, it's really difficult for JJ to bring it back.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have all the dominance positioning here because of the free of the movement, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he chooses to develop a Swarm. I'm thinking of a potential line that he had, but I don't want to mention it. And I'll mention it potentially in the interview and bring it up to Union. But he chooses to develop a Swarm here. Great play. One thing that's a little tricky, I don't know if you have any insight on this, but even as a pretty experienced high times player, it's like, okay, you've got a lot of your Swarms out, but your opponent is entangled. So it's like you don't necessarily want to tick them with the Swarms, because then that's helping them to remove the entangle.
Absolutely.
But
I mean, you gotta have a following plan, a Flash. Yep.
Ah, there we go. Okay. So this was the move I was going to mention, because I had thought that Union missed it, but he instead chose to bring out a Swarm first.
Nice,
Which is fine. Yeah, great play by Union there. And he
Does
is
water remove entangle though?
in the driver's seat. Yes, it will. So when he comes back in, he'll have 250, 0 prots. And we'll see what happens then. And he's just up massively.
Yeah, this is the turning tables play right here.
Oh yeah, with that one spell. And Union, great adjustment with his book, because he knows Salem is very passive. Build his prots, get his setup, and then engage. And he caught him. Caught him with his pants down in the open map and hit him with the Tangle. Only thing that would have gone better is if he was able to sink him with the Tangle. But, you know, we can't have our cake and eat it too. So, of course, Union can do literally anything, but please be offensive. Please don't do something. Okay, there we go. Oh, wow, nice. Great Mega. Down to 116. Get some revenge.
Can you imagine, like, Union going to hide again?
Yeah, that oh, man, I would give him so much shit for that in the interview. I'd be like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, yeah, he's got to do that. But Union has, I mean, I could create a list of all the different... I mean, this is even going to actually help him. You think, oh my gosh, Union got so much damage from the clam. No, this is just over. Yeah. Yeah, you're thinking, oh, the clam hit Union, it's going to help Salem. Nope. Oh, wow, who hit that tomato?
Wow.
God.
Is that Mania?
Wow, whoever hit that tomato, like, good lord. That's insane. Okay, this is perfect. Good game.
GG.
Nice play.
Honorable mention, Mania Maper with that tomato at the end was really skill shot, bro.
That was insane. And, like, players, when you charge tomatoes, like, they can move. You know, and so, like, you could have someone moving down in flight or jumping and hit them with the tomato while they're moving. It's just insane. So, yeah, Increase says, interview whoever threw that tomato. That's hilarious. Yeah, get this guy on the mic. Get this guy in the commentator's booth. Like, you know, fire Coevil. Get this guy up in here. But, okay, we're looking like this grudge match is coming very soon here. They're making preparations. Taking a little bit more time. By that, I mean, like, it's been, what, 30 seconds? Before they did instantly. Like, instant, you know, Union was probably like Protection shields, I hate them. Entangle, alright, we're good to go. Potentially some mixing up of books here by Salem or Union. I'm trying to think, you know, if I am either of these players, who would it benefit more to change up their book? Probably Salem, I would say, because I think Union is very knowledgeable of all the lines and moves and mechanics around original spells and the generic versus generic kind of mirror matchups. But if you catch him with maybe new spells or a kind of more new strategy that's maybe more offensive, then he may not know how to deal with it quite as well. That's just my kind of theory based on what I know about Union.
Yeah, I mean, that entangle was an unexpected move. And you can, by that entangle, you can see how much value it has, that spell, over long games. There we go. Union starting.
Looks like we're getting started, yeah. Let me just load it up. Alright, so the series, if you guys have not been tuning in for the whole time or just joining in, it's tied at 1-1. Union took game 2 and Salem took game 1. And Union gets first turn here. It's worth noting that they both are running appears to be generic books. It's possible, you know, it's not necessarily generic. No level 3s doesn't mean automatically generic, but just kind of basing that on the fact that both of these players are comfortable with the generic mixes.
Yeah, they play generic, that's it, you know.
Yeah. And he's going to go for a protection shield or a shock shield, which is early. A good play early. Probably better to apply pressure than a prot, because then if Union prots, Salem can bring out his own shield. And then it feels like, well, I'm just going to shock shield again. I don't know. It's a little bit complicated to determine, like, oh, what's the best line? Do I do prot first? Do I do shock shield first? It would require probably analyzing a bunch of these different games to figure out, okay, what's the optimal,
Storm shield,
you know,
yeah.
opener. But at the end of the day, yeah, they're both going to do a very similar opening. Shock shield into shock shield.
Is he gonna hide?
Mud into flash. This is going to be interesting for Union. He doesn't have his flight. So what's his options here?
You know, one thing that I have realized for the people that plays, or at least these two players that play standard books, they don't usually love too many abilities. Like, they don't throw bombs or mud balls or something like that across the map. They don't tend to rely on possibility and just straight up make moves calculated that they can control absolutely, right?
Yeah, and
they don't take chances. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sometimes though, like even a very mild chance.
Yeah.
Certain players won't take. Yeah. It's like,
all.
yeah, they won't do anything. There are certain players that are just like super risk averse, but others that are like, yeah, I'll bounce this mega off the ocean floor like Oa did yesterday, and they don't care. One note here for Salem, unfortunately. Yeah, as you just saw, he can't escape with that flash. You have to extend flash out of the forest seed, and there's a couple of different angles that work that get you free with enough space to walk out of that tree from the left. But of course he has BFTP, so it's not the end of the world. A little tricky turn here for Salem, as you think, oh, he might want to go offense, but then he will leave Union Swarm alive. Tough to execute there. Okay, interesting play. He chooses to tree Union, which the other option would be, okay, tree the Swarm. But I like this better, because he trees Union and he can now engage and kill the Swarm the following turn with his shock shield. Or a drain, or, you know, however he chooses to kill it. Union has to take a turn to free himself. The swarm will be a lot exposed and alive. Granted, he can't easily tick it because he's going to get stunned. So Union is in a decent spot here still. Yeah, I wonder, is he going to maybe just go for damage here and say, I got to deal with that swarm later? He doesn't really have an easy way to handle it.
A double drain will be good here.
Yeah, double drain is solid. Get some health advantage. He might just choose to do that. Yeah, do that instead. It's this difficult scenario because it's like the other option would be maybe, okay, he prots, and then next turn he can fly and kill the swarm with the shield. But instead he says, okay, I'm just going to leave this swarm alive. Might not be the best option, but I just have to do it. And here we'll see if Union chooses to be a bit more passive or aggressive. I won't reveal exactly what I might do, but okay, he goes for a mud ball, and aiming something like a mega there is a bit tricky. Could potentially spell disaster if it misses. So he goes for the safe option, the mud.
Now he's running to protect shield, possibly.
Yeah, and now it's a bit stabilized. Also, if Union's not careful about his positioning, then he could suffer the consequences of a nice aggro move from Salem.
Oh, tower.
And okay, he just chooses to tower. Yeah, that's a little bit of a cop-out play, potentially. If he knows Union doesn't have an aerial, he can freely, build his prots out in the open, which I don't know if he would know for a fact, but he could infer probably pretty likely that he doesn't have one. And yeah, oh my gosh, we got Swarm Canis, up in here just bringing out the swarms galore. Of course, we're going to get probably a bit of a repeat of lines that we've seen in the past several games, which is get your protection shield up, get your shock shield up, get your swarm out, get your spirit out, shield on your spirit. If you guys need me to repeat that again, I can. Okay, Pegasus, which we haven't seen from Uniontaper, I don't think, in this series yet. So maybe he went with his trusty Entangle book, which I don't know if he had Pegasus last game in that Entangle book, but he does have it now. If I'm him, I would keep Entangle and just kind of keep that in the back pocket as a threat. Salem's thinking about it. It's a psychological warfare a bit. Like, don't you go out in the open with 125 prot and get tangled, And of course he sticks with the boars, which is a bit interesting. I wouldn't say it did poorly for him, the boars, but didn't really help him that much so far in this match. He could try different minions, such as potentially like a drone or arcane egg instead of boars. But no, boars are cool. Boars are versatile to be able to dig and do actually quite a bit of damage, and also be nice drain food, which looks like Salem's setting that up. Yeah, zoning the swarm with his swarm. So he's got the swarm on the left of Union's to prevent it from going out to the open. But it looks like it's not really preventing it. He can go around, which Union notices. That means he's going to be able to get a boar here, and yeah, it's hard to tell, at this point. It's turn 10. Who really has an advantage in these sorts of slow games? We just gotta, wait and see. What would you bring to try and combat this type of book? Maybe counter.
Well,
if you were playing at WOM.
Well, this is not my type of game, so
Yeah.
I usually play full rush. I play tournament full rush, like without a pause, without giving my opponent tempo. even if it means damaging myself in the process. Maybe that's why I lost.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you're in the commentator's booth with me and
Yeah.
not in the actual tournament. Yeah.
I don't have the answers, but hey, I mean, at least I lost to OA and Ink, so great
Yeah.
players. Not ashamed to have lost to them.
Oh, get
But
clammed. Get clammed, son.
in this situation, like it will pretty much come down to what spells changes Union did and JJ did that we don't know yet, because Union ran Sanctuary on first match, then he switched it to Entangle for that surprise strategy, and it seems like to me like a correlational thing of Union, like to have a strategy that relies on surprise element, apparently.
Yeah. That has turned out to work to his advantage, which it's funny because I thought the opposite, that Union is going to be caught off guard by the surprise of Salem potentially. But it kind of looks like whoever's willing to deviate a little bit and bring that not full counter spell to the generic book, but something that's a little bit offbeat like Entangle, is going to be at a huge advantage. And oh, this is looking spicy. I'm just waiting. I don't want to say anything. I want to see what he ends up doing. He's got 2 seconds. 2-1. Oh, my heart. My heart is broken. And he's going to get clammed. Oh, God. Union could have just won right there. I know, okay, when the clam hits Salem, he gets detowered. At that point, or no, the swarm, he had 20 seconds. He could have gone for a risky, run over there, lob a mega boulder, do something insane. But it's an easy mega, So potentially one of those moments where, like you said, Wom, very defensive minded and slow paced, doesn't really think from the perspective of, I'm going to capitalize on these mistakes. Oh, shoot, he's detowered. I'm going to go slap him with a mega boulder, and win the game immediately.
Yeah, we don't have that mentality, but mark my words, I think Union's going to play again for that secret spell that his strategy is surrounded by, that we don't know yet. I really think that Union's going to surprise us again with another clutch 500 IQ strategy for the late game, based on a spell that we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking about that. If it is Entangle, he might not even need it, because Entangle's most valuable when you've got your opponent with 125 prot, there's an open map, or you have a sinking opportunity. JG's just down a bit of health.
Yeah, but like Union created that opportunity in the last game, waiting for that moment. Like he based his entire play style and thought of train to that moment where he could use and take advantage and turn the tables off based off an entangle. He did that.
Yep. So yeah, basically his whole strategy was around baiting his opponent.
Yeah. So you can see my train of thought here, right? Because on the first game, his strategy was baiting as well for the Sanctuary. He just didn't work it correctly,
Yeah, for sure. And this still could end up being a situation where maybe they do build a couple of prots and end up with 100 each, and then Union is all of a sudden the threat of Entangle is there again. But I guess I was thinking he could also go quite aggressive, but he doesn't have pebbles, so he'd have to do a shock bomb on the tower. And yeah, Salem's just gonna get some health back.
Yeah, like for instance, now Union bring Pegasus. We haven't seen Pegasus from Union in the last 2 games. And then again, I really love to talk about like this type of because there's options. Like you can build your books based on a common archetypical strategy like stalling or rushing. But the other thing is that how you play that book, and what type of player you are. Like the interview with OA was talking about yesterday, or no, the other day. Clam. He's talking about like he didn't have the mentality of thinking like a win on turn 50 or 40. Like he didn't have that ability, but Union does, and that just shows you like how different you can play the game, how different you can build your books, how different you can be as a player, and how beautiful it is to collide those different type of books that you have built and the way that you play them against another player.
Yeah, for sure, that's interesting. Even within the same book, you give two people the same book, they can still play it quite differently and kind of mold it to their own personal play style. And I would say, based on this match, Salem and Union pretty much mirrored play styles. And so this is one of the reasons why it's such a close match. And we've got these longer games that come down to Arma, or to the mid long game before we end up seeing a victory. It's just because they're so closely matched and they have the same sort of tools to deal with each other's spells. For example, Shock Shield to kill a swarm, Mud Ball to trap, Pegasus to get out of a Mud Ball, different things like that. Tower. So this mirror matchup proving to be quite competitive. And okay, JG going for a more aggro play here. Yep, has to go for a Mud Ball. And I guess one thing to note is that he doesn't have a good angle for Mega at the top because there's so much land there. So that's kind of out of the question. But he does at least control Union's movement, and I don't think Union potentially might not be free if he towers out. Maybe he could with the FDP, get out with his Pegasus. Not quite sure. Union has an interesting move here, which I might point out in a few seconds if he doesn't end up going for it. Okay, so he ends up towering, and it looks like he would be able to escape now. But one move I was thinking of is extending Flash downward, which would deflight Salem, and also, he's got his active Shock Shield. Union does, he would threaten it. And then Salem would have to, flight up again. And I believe it would be on cooldown, so he would be pretty strapped for mobility there. I like Union's position here at this point. What do you think, Inwam? Who do you think has the edge? And he just Qs. Oh, God.
Oh, definitely.
But now Union needs some speed in order to take advantage of this.
Right, so definitely Union has the advantage here.
Or watch Union just like tree him or something. Yeah, go. Yep. Okay, I think he's gonna make it.
Mega Boulder, maybe?
No, wait. He's just gotta go. Yeah. Any sort of pause is bad. Yeah. 10, 9, 8. Yeah, he's got this.
Mega Boulder, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird angle that he chooses Mud Ball then, or Mega Boulder is gonna go.
Okay, barely got that off. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's huge, and it's gonna be very difficult for Salem to come back here in this situation. Again, comes down to an opportunity to use a level 3, which, or not level 3, but the big tempo, big aggro spells, the turn 4, turn 5 spells, like Mega, or other examples are like Dark Matter Bomb, Ice Bomb.
I like to call them level 2 spells, right?
Yeah, level 2s. Okay,
right.
Yep, tree.
Tries to gain some tempo.
Yeah, can he escape here? Kind of tricky. I don't know if he has BFTPs left.
Now's the time where Union reveals Whisper Arrow, right?
Yeah, right. Just hits him with the Whisper. Yeah, show me the meteor, and then he wins the game. But no, I wouldn't overthink this. For Union, pretty much doing anything except queuing would be good.
Maybe a DK, bro. Like he has the freedom of the. Okay, well.
Very interesting. Yeah. Chooses to go for the gate. I think that's a great play. Like I said, he just shouldn't be staying in that tree and staying trapped, because then he gives Salem an opportunity to come back. And yeah, here we have Salem in a bit of a predicament. Doesn't have any way to really heal. I think he might just have to drain. Yeah. And he goes for it. But this might be GG. We'll see how Union ends up capitalizing. Okay, he did have a BFTP left. And yeah, this is over with the mega stuff. Very well played by both players. GG.
GG, and Union takes it, bro.
Union takes it. That's such a close match. Wow. That was great. We will take a minute to see if either of these players are available to come in for an interview, and it looks like Union graciously wants to get roasted by me.
Looks like both of them are coming in for an interview, yep.
And Salem will come in, but I won't roast Salem. I'll roast Union exclusively. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, they're gonna come by and we're gonna ask them the most high-stakes burning questions you've ever seen. Should be a good interview here. Lots of ups and downs to these matches. Man, it was just really great to see competitive gameplay. Yeah, okay, some people may be turned off by the generic, but in an Arma map, it's going to always end up to be decisive. And looks like we've got Union and JG both here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, how are you guys doing after that game? Well played, both of you. Congrats, Union.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, GG's.
GG's, man. No, yeah, I'm happy. I made the finals. It was a tough road to get there, and you know, I have about an hour to clean the house before my wife gets home, so that's good.
Nice, that's the important stuff, so we won't keep you for too long. But just starting off, Union, it seemed like this was a battle of generic, you know, and also I think you guys had pretty similar play styles. So I'm wondering, what was your approach in game one? It seemed like you really were reticent to engage Salem at all. You just kind of sat very far away, building your prots, building your shields, and didn't really have a way to engage him or go aggro.
I mean, I don't know. I think there was a point in the match where I was like, I'm just gonna let Arma do its thing. Like, I'd rather just sit here and wait and have some sort of setup, and then I can make my push.
Right.
I didn't really care so much about my shields because I did have Sanctuary. It was more so like I just wanted that opening free, you know, without it costing me a turn. So like I didn't want to go and waste the turn flashing or pebbling just to like go through the process of getting mud and all that stuff. Like I was hoping like Arma, you know, could just open it up for me and then I can just do what I need to do.
Gotcha. What was your thought process behind the Sanctuary book paired with Shock Shield? It seems like Salem maybe got a little bit more use out of his boar than you would from your Sanctuary, because you're canceling out all your shields.
Yeah, like I said, the shields to me is more of like, it's like a secondary cushion. It's not really like something I care about. Nor is the shock shield. Like that's not really a big win condition. For me, it was like, I think someone like put it in the chat, or like because I heard you guys say it, but like yeah, there was that at one point where, you know, he finally came up and I had blast from the passage to get him closer to like that little pixel up top. I just didn't have enough time to like micro a minion over, jump on it, get to the top, and then Sanctuary. But like at that, like that's what I was hoping for, right? It was to hit the Sanctuary at that point, because at that point I have the upper hand, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like the boars I didn't really care about. The only thing he could have really done is either run away and hide or just pebble me. And at that point, like that's when I would have gone super aggro. But unfortunately, like I couldn't. I just didn't have the time, so you know, it didn't work out.
So I wanted to ask you, Union, about the this train of thought that I have in the entirety of the two games, where basically you were, to me, apparently playing to the surprise element or a surprise move based your entire strategy on it. Like for example, first game I would say that was Sanctuary. Second game was Entangle.
Yeah, I mean, I knew. I just was watching like even the match yesterday. Like I knew it was gonna be a generic battle, and I don't mind. Like I love like the long games. I could play, you know, 2 games, 60 full turns on 60 grassy, and they end up drawing, and I'm having fun. Like I don't really care. I enjoy it. So for me, I knew it was gonna be a long game. um, so the first game, it was just like I couldn't get the right positioning or like that little bit of luck or anything. Like I couldn't get that opening to use the sanctuary. I was trying to like hide it, but it came to the point where like I needed a drain, right? So I needed a minion out, like a man trap, to be able to heal up. So I was like, all right, whatever. Let me just like use it. And then the second game, I knew it was gonna be the same thing over again, and this is something that Gold did to me. I think game
Yeah.
1 of our match,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, like if this is what it's gonna come down to, I'll play the long game. I'll let him set up. And I'm just gonna bring Entangle, and I'm gonna hide it until the very end, right? Like I didn't want to use it. There was a couple times I could have used it earlier, and I was like, no, like let me just draw it out. Like I don't mind these long games, and so finally I got the opportunity where there was an opening, right? Like I was on the right side of the map. I got the opening. I went up. I killed his spirit, and then I was like, okay, cool. I really don't care about these swarms. I don't care. There's nothing he can do to me. I just hit the tangle. I knew that I'd be able to eventually sink him with a flash because there was barely any terrain, which is why I chose to like run away and kind of give myself another setup of a swarm or something. Because then when I do go for a flash, it's like just something else, extra damage that I could have following after that. But yeah, like I mean, it worked out. And then the third game, I don't know. I guess I wanted to be a little bit more aggro and try to get the advantage on the HP. And I also brought Peggy this time. I didn't bring it the first 2 games. Brought it the third time for like the overhead protection and the drain. And I was able to pull it off. Well, what also helped me, and this is very unfortunate for Salem, but he did have a really bad Q there, which kind of sealed the
Oh, yeah.
deal.
Yeah, I was trying to tree, and the tree would have worked, but I was trying to make it so that you couldn't BFT out. And then I was like, what other lines do I have? And then I had 3 seconds left, and I'm like, okay, I got to do the tree. And then the tree was red, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I can't get it. But
Yeah.
I knew that I had previously gotten it green. I just couldn't get it green this time. So unfortunate. But yeah, the game 2, I felt like I was in a really good position, and then he brought out the entangle, and I'm kind of like, well, now what? So that was unfortunate. I don't know. I feel like going into this, there wasn't a lot of expectations for me to perform, to get to even semis. So I'm pretty happy with the performance. I think this kind of moving forward, I'll have more confidence in the tournaments. But yeah, it was a good game. Just kind of an unfortunate cue on game 3. I think it could have gone either way, but I think I played to the best of my ability, and I had some cues in there in the game, but those cues were like I really didn't have any move. Like maybe I threw a drain bolt out into the wind, but like I just exhausted all of my minions and everything, so I was kind of waiting for my boars to dig me out. But yeah, I had fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you should be really proud of how you played, and kind of puts your name on the map as a newer player to the scene, not as well known to some of the OG veterans. I did want to ask you about your use of boars. That's your trusted spell. You stuck with it for, I believe, all 3 games, and I was just curious to get your thoughts on how you think that worked out for you, and if you would maybe change something in your spell book differently if you were to rematch Union or play this set again.
No, I mean, like I said, I feel like I performed pretty good with the book that I had. I actually, in all 3 games, I didn't make a single change. I never took Pebble. The boar was doing well for me. If I got behind, I could drain it back. I kind of lost tempo with the minions whenever he had swarms, but I wasn't too concerned with it. because I had Shock Shield. He did a good play where he would never hit me with the Swarm when I had, or at least on game 3, when I had Shock Shield up. Because if he had done that, then I could have gone onto the Swarm, used my Shock Shield to kill it, and gain some tempo that way. But he used it more as a zoning tool, which was good. There were a couple opportunities in game 3 where I could have been more aggressive with a Mega Boulder. Kind of like whenever he was positioned on the right side with the Peggy, there was an opportunity where I could have possibly gotten it on his head. But it's a risky play, and I don't really play risky. At least I try not to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I would make any changes. This book was really strong. I almost thought about bringing the mix that Seer Comp played against me, which it's like a bear form mix with summon monarchs, and it's like you charge up Javelin and use boars to dig and stuff, but I really didn't have a lot of practice on it, so I just stuck to what I knew.
Yeah, those can be tricky to play, but often, yeah, we see players end up just sticking with their guns, what they're comfortable with. Union, kind of a question to round out this interview. You're gonna end up facing Oa again in the finals. Again, I think. Yeah, you guys played previously, right? Was it in the same tournament? How are you feeling about that matchup?
I mean, I already know what I'm gonna be expecting. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, control gameplay, of course. Monarchs and Imps.
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
definitely.
Yeah.
The full books, full C's.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I'm definitely gonna be prepared for it. I know it's gonna be very exciting, and I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I definitely think he was gonna I had him winning everything, and I kind of still do, just because the thing he has over me is like the versatility of spellbooks, right? So like, yeah, I can go and switch spellbooks, but I don't have as much practice with it as other people do. Like earlier in the tournament when we were doing qualifiers and things like that, I would experiment. Like if I had brought generic, I'm pretty sure I probably would have qualified a lot earlier. Like there was my match against Cryo, where I just experimented with like flightless and things like that, and ended up just kind of losing that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's one thing he really has over me, and so I don't know. I have to see how I want to play things, and I hope we can make it a good match.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys both for coming on. JG, great work, and just being competitive, getting introduced to the new tournament scene as a player that's not really as experienced as some of our other participants. So really great to see you make a name for yourself and just be competitive. You did really well, and I think you should be proud of how you played. And Union, congrats again. The return of the OG veteran. We got a little bit of a story arc. New players going up against some OG vets, and we're trying to see who's going to come out on top. Unfortunately for Salem, this time it was Union. But yeah, thanks you guys for coming on. And Union, good luck in the future tournament.
Thank you, man. Yeah, thank you guys, and yeah, Salem, GG's, man. You're insane. One heck of a player, and yeah, you definitely had me there.
Thank you, absolutely. You too, and good luck in the finals. I think OA has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, that he does.
Yeah, good luck to Union in the finals, and good luck Salem in the third place match.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I play
You
Cryo?
get to go against Cryo.
Yeah, you play Cryo in a best of one.
Yes.
I don't know if we'll be
boy.
broadcasting it, but we will definitely be broadcasting the finals. So yeah.
Okay, so it's just one game, huh?
Yeah,
good
just
luck-
the one
good
game
luck,
because a lot of people don't like the third place game, but we do have to play it for the roll, like the account roll. So yeah, that's the
Gotcha.
main reason.
I was gonna
Maybe-
say, definitely do your best, because that's the difference between having a little trophy on your roll versus not having one.
Well, maybe Cryo will lob a Mega Boulder into the wind.
We can only hope.
All right, GG's.
Yep.
GG's. Thanks, guys.
GG's.
Thanks
Thank you
for coming in,
guys.
guys. That was Jgsalem and Union, everybody. And on that note, Queevil, Jgsalem, any thoughts about the series that you'd like to state before we wrap this up?
I mean, what a great series it was. Like I was saying in the interview, if you're not familiar with Jgsalem now, well, now you are. He's on the scene. He's making himself known, and really actually done a lot of training with Seer, who's an experienced 60s player. And so that definitely showed in this match, as he was able to compete with Union, who has a lot of OG experience. And yeah, definitely a great back and forth game. Looking forward to the final versus Oa, and also the third place game, Salem versus Cryo. Any final thoughts, Wom?
About what?
Just
Sorry.
Yeah, just about the matches that we just witnessed, or the future finals.
Oh yeah, it was really
matchup to
interesting.
be.
Like, I really thought that the match was gonna end up at some point in a draw. Like none of JJ or Union was gonna take the offensive position, but it was really interesting at the end. Like, and to see, like, to come to the realization that between the different type of books that you can build and the different type of play styles that you can make, and how it varies from player to player, it was really interesting seeing all of this together. And even though the games were a little bit long, a little bit slow, I will definitely not call them bad games. Like, I've seen bad games where just like draws on the 60th turn. I played against people and players that goes for 60 turn wins, and if they cannot achieve it, the game just draws, and that's just like a lose of time. But in this type of games, I wouldn't call that at all. It was really nice to see them, even though they were a little bit slow, but it was really fun at the end.
Yeah, definitely competitive. Each player is going to have their own individual playstyle. The benefit of an Arma map is it's not going to be nearly as slow as something like a grassy or just any map with no Arma, where you're completely dependent on the players to take initiative and go aggressive. Otherwise, it's just going to end up in a stalemate eventually. But yeah, it was a great series, and a big thank you to all the viewers who came out today and enjoyed this spec with us. Hopefully we see you guys for future broadcasts. Potentially, probably the next one that will be on the docket is going to be the finals between OA and Uniontaper.
Yep. About that match, we don't know when it's going to be scheduled yet, but we expect it to probably be this weekend, most likely. We're gonna hopefully get it on a weekend so that it's more convenient for everybody to watch. Build up some hype around the finals. And in the meantime, yeah, on that note, I'd like to close out. I would like to first shout out our wonderful commentators for today, Coeval and Wise Old Man. You can follow them at those socials. I will also post their socials in the YouTube chat as well. And if you'd like to follow myself, the host for today, myself, Ink7, you can follow me at those Twitch and YouTube links. And yeah, unfortunately, we won't be having any more games, but we will definitely keep you guys posted for the finals and the third place game. Yeah, on that note, thank you all for watching. Until next time, see you guys in for the finals.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
for tuning in.